We took a trip back to Saskatchewan last week to visit some of our family, so here's my best attempt at vlogging our trip. We took 2 vehicles, which was luxuriously roomy with only 4 people in each car. With 4 drivers in the family, that means we each took just a 3-hour shift on the drive there. I got some drive time and some reading time and flipped through some cookbooks that I took out of the library for some inspiration, and then we were there. It was so fast. Our oldest son, Markus, had arranged to have a book signing at Kohl's to promote the release of his first novel that came out this year. It's called The Night of Shadows. It's a fantasy story about a young man on a quest to save his sister. And he had a lot of interest and ended up selling out of all the copies he had on hand. You can find it on Amazon, and I will leave a link in the description. Then we had my parents come join us for supper. I made a dish we call Tom Chalfredo. We're a big fan of Tom here. What we do, we just chop up some tomatoes, add them to jarred Alfredo sauce, cook up some pasta, and serve it with chicken. There were lima beans in this mixed veggies that we got, which is a hard pass. I forgot that some mixed veggies actually have them in there, and I've avoided them for years because my kids would cause such a fuss about it in the past. But this time, there was no revolt at the supper table. It would seem my kids are growing up. Sometimes I chop the chicken small and pan fry it, but this time I oven roasted it with just a little time in the frying pan to brown it, and then I made the sauce in the same pan. My parents came to see us in Edmonton last month, so it's been a little over a month since we've seen them, and my siblings were all planning to be in Saskatchewan at the same time that we were going to be there, but not everyone was around yet, so we thought it'd be nice just to have my parents over, give my mom a break from the cooking before all the days of cooking for an army were upon her, and just have some time to connect more one-on-one together. Afterward, we went for some gelato, Grandpa's treat, to celebrate Markus selling out at his book signing. Janie wanted to trade with me, so who can say no to that face? Every morning I got up early to go for a walk, and I carried my sandals outside the first day just to avoid making extra noise inside the quiet house while everyone was sleeping, and I intended to put my shoes on outside, but as soon as I stepped out the front door, I wondered, why do I need shoes? I wear barefoot shoes all the time and am often looking for opportunities to strengthen my feet, so a barefoot walk just felt like a good idea. I ended up leaving my shoes behind every morning. There's something so wonderful about being out for a walk before the day gets busy and crazy, when the birds are chirping and the leaves are rustling, and just feeling the different textures under my feet made it a totally different experience. I spotted a rabbit, and then I made a stop at a little free library that was in the schoolyard. I was intrigued by some of these old cookbooks, but after flipping through them a little bit, I don't know, guys, what would you have done? The tomato jello salad was a hard pass for me, so I just left them behind. But these Cat the Cat books will be a good find for someone. My littles loved these books when they were toddlers. I ended up scoring a few books at another library that I found on the other side of the school, interestingly enough. I got a script for a play about Martin Luther that I thought my older boys might enjoy, The Little Prince, which I've wanted to read for a few years, and a cookbook that looked pretty interesting. And then, is this not the most perfect sign for me to find? Janie greeted me at the door when I got back, and then proceeded to have some fun with my camera. On Sunday, we gathered with our church in Warman. It was so good to be able to reconnect with our friends there. When I look at what Jesus has done with this church in the last 10 years, it reignites my faith and just encourages me to keep trusting him, trusting Jesus with our new church plant in Edmonton. Starting from nothing is really daunting, but we're not actually the ones building this church. Jesus is. Some of the kids and I took a little trip to Rostern. Lil Bean is one of our favorite places to get ice cream in the summer. They have a massive menu, and their parfaits are so delicious. This time I got Not So Depresso, which had espresso hard scoop and swirl soft serve, coffee syrup, and score toffee bits. I don't know what else. It was so good. They always are. There's something so calming about the prairies and these wheat fields waiting for harvest. Having grown up here, I appreciate the beauty of this place, and some people think it's flat and boring, but you haven't looked at it long enough if that's all you see. We spent our afternoons and suppers at my mom and dad's house. They have a little acreage that has lots of room for the kids to play. Here, Felix and Janie and their cousin found a ladybug, so they're just having a great time together. It was great to see the cousins playing together so well. My dad took down some trees that weren't doing so well earlier this spring, and he offered to cut me some slices from the trunks so that I can make a sidewalk with them. So it's a good thing that we brought 2 vehicles so that I could bring all of these pieces of wood home. I've since learned that they are called wood cookies, so that's something, I guess. My dad is so generous with his time and his stuff. One minute he's chainsawing wood for me, and the next he's giving driving lessons for the quad to his grandkids so they can rip around the yard. Thank you, Dad. The quad rides will be forever etched in their memories. Felix is already scheming about saving up money for one when he's older. We feasted, thanks to my mom. One day we had vrenike, which are cottage cheese pierogies, schmontfat, which is cream gravy, with Mennonite farmer sausage, veggies, and cucumber salad. And then another day we had homemade burgers with salad, all kinds of pickles, you know, all the stuff. And then another day we had rollkuchen and robuus, which is watermelon. If you're not Mennonite, you probably didn't know that was an actual meal, but it is. Fried dough and watermelon is a real meal. Here, Janie's trying to convince me to pour her a drink of whipping cream, which I convinced her to switch to milk because she doesn't need to be drinking cream in a cup. And if you know me, you know I didn't go without coffee while we were here. I did not pack the espresso machine this time, so we made a few stops at some favorite coffee shops in Saskatoon, and we were hoping to find my niece at City Perks, and behold, here she is. She went so far as to let me film her as she poured our drinks. Way to work under pressure, Tor. And thanks for the coffees. And I took a trip down Broadway to grab coffee for Clay and I one afternoon. Can I just say how wonderful it is to live within walking distance to places? People who designed cities 100 years ago, they had some things figured out that our car-dependent society has forgotten. We should be making cities for people, not for cars. And we're back on the road. So weird to think of Alberta as my home now. We needed supper as we drove into the city, and how convenient that IKEA just happens to be on our way home. Plus, it was Wednesday, which means we got a free kids meal with the purchase of every adult meal. And I figured I wouldn't pass up on a free coffee, which was actually decent. If it hadn't been good, I just wouldn't have drank it, but it actually tasted pretty okay. I'm glad to be home, but sad to have left home behind. I get it when people say they feel like their heart's in two places at once. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you again soon.